What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where we are unfortunately talking about the 2024 presidential election and what occurred. Vice President Kamala Harris did not win the election. Donald Trump is going to be our 47th president of the United States. And if you heard my pre-election show, you know where I stood and how I feel. So I don't feel all that great right now. And I didn't feel great on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I didn't feel all that amazing. But we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about what's next. And I had to talk to somebody. All right. So I have Kiya Wimbush-Robinson, HBCU Pulse on ClutchPoints writer. You've heard her on the show before, Virginia State University alumna. How you doing today, Kiya?
I'm good, Randall. How are you?
Listen, I'm not all that great. Okay. I'm better than I was. Yeah, I was better than I was on Tuesday because I was very distraught and disappointed, and I was very excited for what the future was going to look like for us under a new leadership, and that didn't happen. And I just saw the possibilities of what could happen. But we're going to talk through it these next few minutes. But I want to start with this, right? So Donald Trump won the election. He won the popular vote, won the electoral college. He's the 47th president of the United States. He's going to be sworn in on January the 20th, 2025. So I want to just get your first thoughts when you saw the results coming in. Like, were you asleep and you woke up to the news? Were you up like me till 4 o'clock seeing what was going on? Like, what were your thoughts when you saw that Donald Trump won the election?
So I've been checking I've been checking results all night. But I have a job, so I have to go to sleep. But I woke up at it's sort of like 3 a.m. and I checked, and I think at that point he had 290 or something like that, or 280 and shit, 220. I was pissed. I was just you always look at something, you get mad, you don't even say anything, you just took your phone over. That was me. I couldn't even go back to sleep after that because I just knew. I was hoping it was kind of one of those, okay, she got a slow start, but she won't come through it in the clutch. Unfortunately, our girl did not come through in the clutch. And yeah. So it was very disappointing because I just had a super good feeling about it. Yeah, I wasn't happy at all. And I also so I work in DC and I work near the Capitol, and I'm just okay. It was the whole thing, but yeah, I was extremely disappointed.
Yeah, I feel you. I was disappointed just for so many reasons because for me and for us, when it comes to politics, when you get older and at the age we are, we're in our late 20s at this point, and you see how government works for you. You see how policy works for you. And for me, I was voting for student loan relief. I was voting for no qualified immunity for police officers. I was voting for healthcare. I'm on the Affordable Care Act. I'm a contractor, so I don't have employee insurance. So I'm on the Affordable Care Act. I have affordable healthcare because of the Affordable Care Act. So I'm voting for that. I'm voting for the SAVE plan because I'm on the SAVE plan. So for me, and of course I'm voting because I believe in the vision and the leadership of Vice President Harris. And yeah, it's cool. She's a Black woman. And she went to an HBCU, went to Howard University. Those are amazing things. But I know for me, I was voting on policy that I knew would impact my life, impact your life, and impact folks that look like us that are in our same situation. So I just knew that we've seen 4 years of this. So what happens after? What do we do? Because we clearly don't want to go back to this. But I felt like 2016, but worse. Because I remember 2016, you had Clinton, you had Trump, and we had at Fort Valley, I went to the watch party that NAACP was throwing. And I told them, y'all, I think Trump's going to win. I voted for Clinton. I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter, but I just feel as if he's going to win. They're no, Randall, have faith. Things going to happen. He ain't serious. and we were up till 3 o'clock. I was in the SGA office with my SGA president, Lawrence Malloy. We were looking at the computer, and we left the student center at 3 a.m. like, something's going to change. It's going to be a state that's going to flip as they're counting
Yeah.
it. It was just hopelessness. And I remember, like, that next day, classes were canceled for some professors. You had, like, folks, we were looking at each other like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? It felt worse because, number one, I'm grown now. I've graduated. I'm not on a
Yeah.
college campus where I can just go talk to folks that are my age, that look like me, that voted like me, and say what's going on. Number one, but then also it felt just even more hopeless because we've gone through this before, and I know the things I just named. Like, the one thing's gonna happen: qualified immunity for police officers, extended qualified immunity. But say plan gone, Affordable Care Act. I hope he doesn't take it away. I hope the Republicans don't vote it away. So I'm looking like,
Yeah.
what do I do with my life? Because this is different from 2016 because I was in college back then.
Yeah.
But now I got to really deal with this as an adult, and we got
You're
to
an
sit with
adult,
it, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I definitely feel that. Like, I just remember like being in college because I was at Virginia State during the 2016 election. Like, me and my friends, we went to vote, and I just remember like the very next day. I don't think classes were canceled, but it rained the whole week. The sun was shining. It just rained the next day. Campus morale is just so like dead. Um, but yeah, this feels way worse because it seems like he's become more extreme to kind of like a scary point. Like, we are all well aware of Project 2025, even though he says he has nothing to do with it. His name was listed all up and through that. So, um, yeah, and like you said, as an adult, it's kind of like, you're on your own. Like, when we were in college, we were still like under our parents. So this was kind of like, not really their issue, but, we had this kind of layer of protection. But now that we're adults, there's no one to protect us but us. So, like, these things, like, directly impact us. And I really feel like a lot of people are already starting to see the effects of their choices. All in all, like, am I extremely disappointed? Yeah. I'm a firm believer in, like, growing up, like my grandma always said, like, a hard head make a soft iron. And a lot of people are about to see that soft behind because it's like they're already seeing like the effect of voting for Donald Trump. So, like, I seen something where this person, husband, cousin, somebody worked for a company, and normally they give like this very like got multi-$1,000 bonus every year. But their boss said this year, y'all not going to get y'all bonuses because we have to prepare for the tariffs for when Donald Trump gets elected into office. And they're like, what? 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 And the thing is, but the company that this was is like in a red state, completely red town. So it's like, they're like, what? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So you already seeing the consequences of your actions. So it's like, as people who like, I feel like the people who voted for Donald Trump based on, I'm going to say, misinformation, they're really about to see what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a great toss because I have tried my best to not be insulated because I know that the position I have with HBCU Pulse and even doing HBCU Pulse radio, like, I can't just go into my room, close the door, and just go to sleep. I can't do that. I have to engage with the world because, yeah, I'm dejected and I still feel away now. But at some point, we have to fight. And I know that my goal is I want to make sure that the HBCU community is aware of what's going on and what we can do. So I've been reading all of the post-election articles. The Atlantic has had like 15, like, golly. And you had New York Times, they had an expansive article. I'm like, there's no need for books. They have the books about them. Don't write the books, save the books at this point. We already know. Like, don't publish a book unless you got some new information. Because I know everything. I felt like I was there in the room at Howard when she found out. Like, because just don't write anything else. But like, I was reading Puck, and Puck is one of my favorite publications, and they had a lot of amazing political reporting on their website. And Peter Hamby, who is a writer for Puck, he actually went to the University of South Carolina, and he spoke to a young lady about just voting and Gen Z voting for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. And I believe this young lady I'm about to play right now, she was a Kamala Harris supporter, but she had a very interesting viewpoint about Donald Trump. And I want to play it right now.
Do you think if Trump becomes president, it'll like be worse off for you specifically, or do you think it doesn't really matter that much?
Honestly, like when he was first elected, it made it seem like the world was gonna end, and I mean, like, I'm still here today, so like at the end of the day, like I think bad things will probably happen, but I mean, like, I don't know, like maybe they can just be reversed after that.
Maybe they can be reversed after that. So for that young lady, no, they can't. Okay, because Supreme Court's gone. Listen, Supreme Court is gone. And listen, the judges, President Biden appointed a lot of judges, like, district court judges, different things like that. But Trump's going to probably appoint more. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like so many different things where things aren't going to change back. And I want to say this real quick, Kiya, is I survived. They're like, I'm still here. You survived COVID because there was a whole entire pandemic that millions of Americans aren't here right now. And largely the 2020 election was a referendum on that. And we know people that have been affected by COVID. We know folks that were affected by the pandemic. We were affected by the pandemic. And then even on top of that, there are folks that are still here, but because they had the virus, they still might not be 100% at this point. So yes, you did survive it. You are still here. But at the same time, these things affect you. So I just got to ask you, Kiya, like, do you think that that's the reason why this happened? Do you think that folks in our generation are younger, just a sort of disillusioned to politics and what's going on?
I honestly feel like people in our generation, it's because they're misinformed. It's like we live in a generation where information is kind of like spark noted, where you just get the bullet points. No one actually does their research. No one actually does their homework. So it's so easy to believe a 30-second TikTok saying blah, 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 versus actually going to the candidate's website or going to some credible sources. Emphasis on credible about what's going on. And I also feel like, too, as young people, we have this notion of because we're young that we live forever and things don't impact us. That's not always true. So it's like, you never know when it's your time, or you never know like how things may impact you. So it's like you can't walk around with this mindset because you're young that you're invincible. Because things happen every day. So I feel like, and also I too feel like, I know at least when I was in school, I'm not that old, but throughout my like the secondary education, like K through 12th grade, I've taken at least government on 3 different occasions. I think when I was in 5th grade, we had like a whole like civics lesson. I was like half the year. I took civics in the 8th grade, and I took AP government when I was in 11th grade. So I know I'm not the most, I'm no Olivia Pope when it comes to politics, but I know what I know. Because as an adult, it would be very irresponsible of me to not be informed. Because these things impact me, especially as a woman, especially as a Black woman. So I need to do my due diligence and do the proper research. But I can't, be ignorant because, well, I'm young and these things don't affect me and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. No. Like, so I feel like young people in this generation, they don't want to do their research because they just want everything so fast. Like I said, they much rather watch a TikTok than actually do research. And then also, I feel like they don't have the foundation that we have to learn about certain things. And then they're also not the type of people to go on their own and do their own research.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that we have to look at it like this too. We have to look at the sources of information, because I think that for a lot of folks that identified with who we were voting for and are on the left side of things, we feel as if the media wasn't doing what they needed to do. Because there was a term that I learned legitimately 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, called sane washing. And sane washing is essentially making something insane and you make it look normal because you're reporting on it in a normal way, and it ain't normal. And that's a word I promise you, I did not come into 2024 knowing that word. And I read a lot. Okay, I'm trying to read 10 books this year. I want to exceed that. Okay, and I'm trying to get out my comfort zone a little bit when it comes to the books I read. It's a lot of great words I see, Kai. I've never seen sane washing. All right, but the thing that perplexed me with the media is how we covered this campaign and this election cycle. And I have to specifically bring up one person that I've looked up to and that is amazing at what he does on the cultural side. But I think in politics, he showed a lot of interesting things in how he's portrayed himself. And that's Charlamagne the God, who is the co-host of The Breakfast Club. So there was this ad that the Trump campaign had going that was a transphobic ad. It was an anti-transgender ad, and it was talking about like sex change surgeries for prisoners, and they were using it to paint Vice President Harris. Hey, she's too extreme, she's too liberal. And the thing about it is that if you research it, like the whole entire situation that the ad was talking about deserves so much context. And they were just painting as, hey, she's too liberal, she can't get in, like she's going to do all these different things. And there was a segment of The Breakfast Club leading into the election where DJ Envy, a Hampton University alumnus, Charlamagne the God, and Lauren LaRosa, who's a Delaware State alum, they were talking about the commercial because they aired it during Sunday Night Football. They were aired it during the football games on Sunday. And yeah, Charlamagne, you had Envy, you had Lauren, like they were perplexed. They were exasperated by the ad, and they said, well, we don't want this to happen, saying that essentially the ad was effective. They weren't necessarily endorsing a candidate, but they were saying the ad was effective because it's scary, like, oh, we don't want this to happen with our tax dollars. And Charlamagne and Envy, they were used in an ad by the Donald Trump campaign to sort of push that narrative of, hey, this is what Vice President Kamala Harris is doing. She's too extreme for the office. So I want to read this directly from the New York Times, and the article is called How Donald Trump Won, How Kamala Harris Lost. So they poured still more money into the ads, running them during the football games, which prompted Charlamagne the God, the host of The Breakfast Club, a popular show amongst Black listeners, to express exasperation. And on-air complaints gave the Trump team fodder for yet another commercial. The Charlamagne ad ranked as one of Trump team's most effective 30-second spots, according to an analysis by Future Forward, Ms. Harris's leading super PAC. It shifted the race 2.7 percentage points in Mr. Trump's favor after viewers watched it. The ad cut to the core of Trump's argument that Ms. Harris was dangerously liberal, the exact vulnerability her team was most worried about. The ads were effective with Black and Latino men, according to the Trump team, but also with moderate suburban white women who might be concerned about transgender athletes in girls' sports. When I read that, Kai, I was very upset because in the media, in what we do, and what we've learned within our discipline, what we say matters. What we do matters. The foundation of Black media is basically being informed about what's going on in our community and in the world. And one of the things I learned at Fort Valley State University, shout out to Miss Ellis, aka Mama Mia, a Radio Hall of Famer in the state of Georgia, is show prep. So you don't get on anything with broadcasting unless you are prepared and you know what's going on and what you're talking about. So you go in there, you express exasperation. This ad worked so effectively, and look what happened. Now we know that who Charlamagne and the Breakfast Club were supporting. We heard the audio town hall. I thought it was an amazing idea to do that audio town hall, but he was being used to push a narrative that was antithetical to what Vice President Kamala Harris stood for. And we see that the ad worked. This ad is going to go right up with Willie Horton. This ad is going to go right up with the Swift Boat veterans. This ad is going down in history. There might be college students that are going to learn about it in their communication courses 10 years from now because it clearly worked. 2.7 percentage points. That PAC fund, that was a Kamala Harris PAC. I just think that if we take anything away from this election, we have to know that what we say and what we do matters, especially in this profession. And I think that the media has a lot of culpability for what happened, including Charlamagne. So everybody has to hold the L because things like this happen.
It's not funny, but something that I'm a big Megan Thee Stallion fan. And sometimes, because she's had her fair share of running with the media, people telling false stories about her and, how easy it is for people to believe that. She was like, y'all see some writing in some big, bold black font, and y'all just believe it. And that's honestly what the situation reminded me of. You hear this ad from this man, and then all of a sudden you like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Not only did their comments show ignorance, it showed them not being well informed. And if I'm going to keep it 100%, it showed them being transphobic. So it just exposed all these things. And it's just like, I will say that I'm not a Trump supporter in the slightest. But you're right, it was extremely effective because people watched the Breakfast Club. So it's like you have this widespread audience that touches millions and millions of people, and you're sitting here commenting on something that doesn't really make any sense. And now look what happened. And I feel like we as journalists, especially Black journalists, we have to understand how much power our words hold and how influential we are. Because it's so easy, especially when there's millions and millions of people watching, how easy it is for something to get misconstrued or for the wrong narrative to be put out. Because once again, we're in this day and age where people aren't doing their research. So it's like, if I see it on the Breakfast Club, that's like how people say they get their news from the shade room. If y'all don't watch the news, pick up, I know news print media is slowly dying out. If y'all don't get the news app on your phone, something. It's different if you're getting celebrity tea and gossip from the shade room, but actual news, like things going on in politics, things going on like that actually affect us, you should not be getting your news from the shade room or BuzzFeed or what's the other ones. No, the Breakfast Club. No. If you want to know what happened at the Baddies reunion, yeah, by all means, go to the chat room and get your tea, get in the comments. But real information, you need to get it from a credible source. And then also, and I understand, celebrities have major influence. That's why they're celebrities. But there's nothing that Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, or whoever that other lady is, no disrespect to her, I don't know her, can tell me about politics. The man who got Rico for some fraud stuff can't tell me nothing about politics. I'm sorry. So it's like, I feel like for some Black people in the media space, you can't be so, I'm trying to think of willy-nilly is not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. You can't careless, especially when you have a big audience like that. And especially you have, because this is what, 2024, a lot of Gen Z, this is their first time to vote. So a lot of them are watching the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club, and you also have to understand that they're impressionable. So they're still children. Even if they can vote now, they're still children. So it's so easy for them to be like, oh, okay, well, I've seen this on the Shade Room, or I've seen this on the Breakfast Club, so it must be true. No. So it's just for that to happen, it's honestly kind of sad. Not kinda, it is sad. Because you let your own transphobia, whatever you want to call it, you played into his hand, honestly. He wanted to cause a reaction, and you gave him a reaction. In turn, that reaction contributes to him winning. So it's And I honestly feel like too, for a lot of people, because they are in a certain tax bracket or they make a certain amount of money, they act like they will be exempt from certain things. No. When he said he's going to give people a tax break, he's talking about the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, the Elon Musk, the Mark Zuckerbergs. He's not talking about you. So they have this notion in their head that, oh, because I might be an A-list celebrity or I'm, this, that, and third, that he's who I'm talking about, that you're what he's talking about. No, you too will see the consequences of your actions, whether you're a celebrity or not. So, yeah, that was a bit much for me.
I'm gonna say this, and this is my first time actually talking about this publicly because you brought up the shade room, and I want to give a full disclosure to what I'm about to say. I have no issue per se with the shade room. I've looked up to Angie Wanda, who's the founder of the shade room. I interviewed her in February 2021, and I sought after her being a mentor of mine. That didn't happen. I have no ill will towards that. I understand timing and different things of that nature. That happens. I have no ill will towards the shade room, but I agree with everything that you're saying. But here's my thing. I think that we have to look at things like this. Why can't we look at the shade room and get the information? Why can't we go to the Breakfast Club and get the information? Because especially the Breakfast Club, when we look at radio is as traditional of a medium and it's more traditional than even television. Because radio has existed for hundreds of years. Like television is sort of a new concept that really introduced itself in the 20th century. Like really like what color TV? That was like the mid 1900s. So color TV, like that's a new thing. Radio been existed. Like we talk about the Tom Joyners, the Petey Greens, like all these amazing Black radio pioneers, right? That were informing the community. The radio hosts that were around during the civil rights movement, informing the folks on what was going on. Like there was a responsibility to be informed, to be prepared, and we knew what we were doing. It wasn't all entertainment, it wasn't all gossip. We knew the vision of where we were going. But I think that the standard has lowered. And the standard has lowered because it's a low barrier of entry. Because anyone can start an Instagram page. Anyone can get a podcast. You don't need a degree. You don't need an application. You don't need to do anything like that. You can go on TikTok and go viral, go on Twitch and get popular. And I think that that's the thing, because I think that for our platforms in this space that have this audience, the Shade Room, I still look up to Angie. I think that the way that she built that platform is amazing. And that interview I did with her was one of the proudest moments of my career. Full stop. Full stop. And I will never stop saying that. But I just believe we have to do better. All of us have to do better. Charlamagne has to do better.
We do.
Baller Alert has to do better. Spiritual World has to do better. The Shade Room has to do better. The folks that are on Twitter, they decide to be on Twitter. We all have to do better in this profession in getting out information, because the space is so stratified. People ain't going to CNN because they feel like they can't trust CNN. They feel like MSNBC is too partisan. On the other side, I feel like Fox News is just too partisan. There are only so many places that you can go to get reliable information. And a lot of folks take to the Shade Room. A lot of folks take to the Breakfast Club. A lot of folks might take the HBCU Pulse. But we have to do better, especially in these next 4 years. For that young lady that we played that was interviewed by Puck, that, oh, what happens that doesn't affect me, I'm still here. Maybe she doesn't know about some of the things that might fundamentally affect her. They're not the huge issues that were being campaigned on, because there are things with student loans, student debt relief, with the Department of Education, with all these different things that might not be the big board issue that affect her. So someone has to tell her. Someone has to. And I think that that's the thing, is that yes, the gossip, yes, entertainment, celebrity, there's a place for that within Black culture. But at the same time, if you want to get into this political sphere, I'm not saying be partisan, but at the very least, be prepared to know what you're talking about. Like that's what really irked me about the folks in this profession and the outlets in this profession.
Yeah. I think, at least for me personally, The reason why I'm not too keen on running to the Shade Room or to Baller Alert or any of those other pages, because they have grounded themselves in celebrity gossip and entertainment, which is fine, but also in the same breath because they also are the driving force between things that are not true in those spaces. It's been plenty of times where I've seen celebrities in the comments, like with a shade room or someone else posts a story about them, and then like, this is completely false. Or you know that they'll post something to cause discourse. Like posting Zaya Wade, like, her doing her thing. And it's like, you're not doing it. It's like you have this feeling that that they're not doing it because, oh, we're just simply informing the public of this thing is to cause discourse. So it's hard for at least someone like me to say, okay, well, I can listen to Shade Room or to Ball Alert or to anything else and say, okay, I believe this was going on or whatever. Because even in the space where they have where they have built upon, their brands, they spread misinformation here. So it's like, how am I supposed to believe you when some stuff that I really need to know about is going on? So it's like, do I wish I could trust more? I'm pretty sure there's other, Black media outlets that do strictly put out the facts and actual information, but just the ones that we mentioned specifically, it's a little bit harder for me to want to believe them because even in the entertainment space, they also push things that aren't necessarily true. And they know they're not true. But you do it for clickbait, you do it for views, you do it for ratings. And the thing is, they have clearly have made it their thing to not be this super, oh, you're not gonna, we might post some things to keep you informed, but our main job is to entertain, specifically with celebrity news and gossip, whether it's true or false. So it's harder, like I said, speaking for myself, for me to be like, okay, well, I believe the Shade Room or anything else or blah, blah, blah. Like, I believe HBCU Pulse more than I believe the Shade Room when it comes to actual information. Granted, we don't post like gossip and we post like, celebrity entertainment surrounding HBCUs, but like gossip and all other stuff, like that's not our thing. But this is a trusted source for me. If I say like, if I didn't, check in the middle of the night and I saw on HBCU Pulse that Kamala lost election, I'd be like, okay, this is on the post, so it has to be true. But that's because I view this as a credible source. Because I know that you're not just gonna be posting anything. Even like working with you, like if there's a story, you'll be like, let's wait to see if I can verify this before I post it. Them other outlets, they just get the posting stuff. They get that big black bold font, like Megan Thee Stallion said, and just get the posting. So it's like those type of, and then even with like the Breakfast Club, you have these people here who are not well informed. They just got a mic and some vibes. Granted, they might know certain things, but I also feel like when it comes to some serious topics, they are not well informed. They don't do their research. So it's like, how, like, you just sitting here talking. And yeah, like, you can just have conversation, but you are on this platform I feel like they have to decide what they want to do. It's either you want to inform or you're going to entertain. If you're going to do both, you have to make sure that you're credible in all aspects around. Because even with celebrity gossip and news, you can still entertain, but at least make sure it's true. Because there's been so many times like I've seen where stories that them type of sites have posted that were not even remotely true. And the people that they're involving said it out their own mouth that this never happened or this isn't true or this is false news. Like, so I feel like for those Black media spaces that we talk about specifically, and I definitely agree with what you're saying that they have to do better, we have to do better. Then even in the lane that they're in, they need to start practicing that there, and then move out into saying, okay, like we can, because like I said, it's hard for someone to believe what someone says when you know that they don't always tell the truth all the time. A broken clock is right twice a day, but even still then, it's still a broken clock. So it's like, because they have these bigger platforms, I personally just feel like, yes, if celebrity news and gossip is still your main driving force, that's fine. But make sure what you're talking about is true. Because it'll come out anyway. But like I said, it's been too many times where I've seen them sites post up that wasn't true at all. So it's like, if I can't trust you to effectively or truthfully tell me the T on X, Y, and Z, how can I trust you with some stuff that really matters? So it's like you said, like, there's gotta be better.
Yeah. And I gotta say this quote here by Ida B. Wells, and this is how I feel when it comes to media. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. And that's something that I know for me, when I look at like the folks in this profession, especially Black journalists and Black personalities that have done that, like that is the root of what we do. And I think that what has happened is a lot of folks look at truth and the telling of truth from a partisan lens. Like, what is truth? Like what is it? Because at first, truth was undeniable, like that the sky is blue on this certain day. But what if someone is colorblind? They might not see that the sky is blue. So what is their truth? Right. So now it's this stratified version of truth where now, okay, the sky is blue to me, but the sky ain't blue, it's gray because I'm colorblind. So now it's like now we're warring truths. And now it's like, well, I can't believe none of y'all because you're partisan blue, they partisan gray. And now people are looking at like, oh, we're all picking sides. We all have a bit. We do. I think that based on our ideology, based on our lived experiences, we have biases. We have a bit. We have a way that we slant. And sometimes life experiences that happen after your childhood, your adolescence, college years, it might shift you another way. Either way, I can understand that. I can identify with that. Yeah, I was a Kamala supporter. I was. Yeah, like probably a lot of the HBCU outlets were. And some of them for HBCU Pulse, some of them were posting more Kamala Harris stuff than we were. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, like we all want to see an HBCU alum in the White House and all these things. And I don't apologize for my vote. I don't apologize for my support. But I just think that ultimately we have to look at it as this isn't George Bush versus John Kerry. This ain't Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney. Like this is something totally different that people have to atone for. We gotta shine light on it. I think that's the problem.
Can I say something? You just made an excellent point. And this is something I personally have said. There's, because people say, if I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, we can disagree. In a normal world, in a normal day and age, yes. I truly believe that being a Donald Trump supporter is so much different than being a Republican. Because if you look back on previous elections with other candidates, from John McCain to Mitt Romney, you ain't see, like, something about being a Trump supporter is almost cultish. Because people are integrating it into their weddings, into their daily way of life. It's something very strange and honestly quite sinister about being a Trump supporter, because even with like the Mitt Romneys and the John McCains, we didn't have one of this. You didn't see them storming Capitol buildings and inciting violence. None of that. So I truly believe that being a Donald Trump supporter is its own weird thing that honestly I'm really curious as to what it is. Because even though I was the owner to vote, I remember the Mitt Romney and the Barack Obama, their whole like battle for the presidency. And even with him being, the Republican candidate, there wasn't, at least for those people who were older than me, like talking about politics, there wasn't this sense of fear. It was just simple, oh, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to vote for Barack Obama, or, I want to vote for a Black president. But with Donald Trump, there's this cloud of fear. because the things that he wants to put into place is honestly very scary. So it's like, this isn't the same thing that we've seen or that our parents have experienced like years before. I can't even really like put into words like what it is. Because Republicans, they was never like this. Like I said, Donald Trump is in his own weird category that honestly goes beyond what a typical Republican candidate looks like. That man has some dark energy. Because like I said, his whole like MAGA movement, it's very cultish. If you look at like, it's very strange. Like I've seen people on TikTok where this girl said she stopped talking to her dad because during her during her wedding, he brought up Trump, and after she said not to, and this other girl stopped talking to her dad because, it just turned him into something like crazy. So it's like, these aren't the same people. These aren't the same Republicans that we had 15, 20 years ago who just oppose, certain Democratic views. Like, and even down to like, Mitt Romney and John McCain with Barack Obama. It wasn't a smear campaign. They simply just said that this is how we view things, this is how he viewed things. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it never gave this like, it's kind of like we're in a similar, I feel like I'm in the episode of the Boondocks. Because it's just like, it's so hard to believe that this is real life. Because of how everything with that man is so dramatic and unbelievable. It's just kind of like, is this real life right now? But like I said, like, I personally feel like being a Trump supporter and being an actual Republican are like two different things. Because I feel like if it wasn't, you wouldn't have diehard Republicans who've been Republican their whole entire life say, Donald Trump is even too much for me. I voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Like, that's like, we have to like look at that. Like, we have to study the terms. Like, it's weird. That's just something that I've noticed, but that's just me.
What I'll say before we close out though is that when we look at that and you look at the exit data of the election and you look at the fact that he made gains and inroads with nearly every group of people. I mean, he picked off some black men, but not significantly enough in my opinion, because it was still overwhelmingly black women broke for Donald Trump, and then overwhelmingly black men broke for Donald Trump. But for a lot of other groups, some of the rhetoric and some of the conversations that's been sparked by him in this campaign, they like that. And I think it was because of the economic populist message of, hey, this administration isn't doing XYZ when it comes to inflation, but look at what I'm going to do because my economy was so good, even when that deserves a level of context. And I'll just say this as well, because we have to go, is that I just believe that when it comes to, like, because I was listening to Bill Maher, and Bill Maher said, like, there was a conversation where one people said we live in a post-racial society, but now the new delineator of like division is college degrees. Like, oh, the educated versus the folks that aren't educated, that don't have a college degree. What black people does that apply to? Because I know, like, we went to state institutions, and oftentimes in the higher education world, state institutions are frowned upon. You went to two state institutions. I went to Fort Valley, so it's like that's frowned upon because they're like, oh, well, private schools are better. But even for HBCU alum, there's no real elitism. Yeah, like sometimes like, oh, well, my school has this, my school has that. Because we know what we have to deal with once we leave the pearly gates of our HBCU. We know what we have to go into the workforce for. So this whole entire thing of, oh, it's the working class versus the educated, the Democrats are the party of the elites. That's not the story for black folks, because the story for black folks is that we're going to school and we're the working class. We're literally the workers. Oh, we're the elites because Randall has this little fancy Fort Valley degree. I'm the working class. Like, come on. Like, I just think that we have to recenter these conversations. I just really think that we do. And I think that there needs to be a collective wake up call, because we can go, well, oh, Kamala Harris didn't do this, Donald Trump did this effectively, and this and that. Because I can acknowledge that his strategists, they were trained, they had an idea, they had a plan that clearly they knew, hey, even if Joe Biden was in, we were going to win. Kamala Harris messed things up, but here's how we're going to course correct. We're going to pounce on this. And I've been reading the articles about the postmortem of the election, and they're like, well, the Kamala Harris organization, the political organization and operation wasn't structured, and there were things going on behind the scenes. That is something that, you know what, I can give it that very well is probably true. It was a 100-day campaign, and things like that happen. But we have to orient ourselves to this, is the fact that a lot of folks have a distance to what's really going on. So when all these things are going on, people don't know. People don't know about the Donald Trump gave Putin COVID tests when we couldn't get them. People don't know all these different things. They don't know that. So now we're in this situation where people don't know what they don't know, and they're like, you know what? Well, the economy is really bad, so I'm going to vote for this because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't do what they need to do. I think we need to become more aware of the world, but you know what? It's probably not going to happen because the media ecosystem is so stratified. Now Joe Rogan is a kingmaker and a queen maker at this point. So I don't know at this point. I don't know where we go from here.
Honestly, like, with like the whole Kamala Harris and her campaign 100 days before the election, even in that short amount of time, she's honestly ran one of the best campaigns I've ever seen. As someone who, at this point, almost 10 years, where I can really like say I've been involved in politics for me to understand. But I honestly felt like 3 things boil down to the results of this election. One of them is misinformation. And whether that's because people didn't do their own research or they were so quick to believe other things. Because, one of the big things was like, oh, Donald Trump gave us that $1,200. If I would have heard that one more time, I would have pulled on my hair out.
But the crazy part about it, though, Kiya? The crazy part about it is that was debunked even from Barack Obama.
Exactly. And y'all don't understand, because like people they just want to see what they want to see. Trump did not give y'all that $1,200 y'all would have got it anyway. Honestly, you could have got more. You said no. I could have got more. So that is like one of the biggest things, is misinformation. And even like down to Kamala, she sent all these black men in jail for weed. It was 45 people. 45 people. But throughout her whole being vice president, Kamala Harris hates black men. She sent black men to jail, and and she this, and she for the police and all this other stuff. 45 people. 45 people. And even on top of that, the people that she was trying to put in jail were people who were sexually assaulting people and pedophiles and sexual offenders. I would hope we would want them in jail, right? Right? But because y'all don't do y'all research, y'all don't feel the need to do a deep dive into things, y'all will take things at face value. Like, y'all didn't do no type of research on that lady. But, because she put all these people in jail, it was 45 people. 45 people. And like I said, the people she was putting in jail were people who were causing harm to women and children. I thought as a society we would like to put them kind of people in jail, but no, we just like the person. But that's the here nor there. So misinformation, and then my 2 favorite things: misogyny and racism. As much as I truly believed, and I did in my heart of hearts, that she would have won, that maybe people will really see the type of person that Donald Trump is. They said, "Oh, a woman, a black one at that? No, no." They wouldn't even vote for Hillary Clinton. But I would I was hoping that y'all saw what happened the last time and y'all see how he act now. That y'all would be like, all right, like, you know, something's gotta give, but it didn't. Y'all let racism and misogyny ruin a good thing. And they will see that it's going to cost them. And someone, I forgot why I heard it. Someone was like, Donald Trump supporters vote for themselves and people who are supporting Kamala vote for others. Because as a man, you don't have a uterus. You can't have a baby. I can have a baby. So the fact that you were willing to support a candidate who's going to protect my right to do what I want with my body, that's an example of you voting not only for yourself, but for me. And the girl said, well, it doesn't affect me. As a woman, it's going to affect you relatively quickly. Because anything can happen. People don't understand about life. That life is so unpredictable that you never know what's going to happen. So you can't say, oh, my mom would say, never say it couldn't be you. Because as fast as you can say that it can be you, and it will be. Just because something doesn't affect you directly doesn't mean that you shouldn't stand for or support whatever else is going on. I'm not transgender. Like, I don't have any plans on becoming transgender. But if someone wants to have gender reaffirming surgery because that's who they are, who am I to stop that? Who am I to get away with that? That's their business. Because I do things to make myself feel better as a woman that I won't do. So who am I to say no because they're different, because they want to be transgender, I'm not stop. No. That doesn't make any sense. Even though it doesn't affect me personally, who am I to want to stop supporting that? Everyone, we only get one life. And if that's what you want to do in this life that makes you happy, by all means go for it. But people don't. This is what happens when you vote selfishly. When you vote self-servingly. You think that, oh, it's gonna me. But you don't realize that your vote has an impact on other people. Even down to like people that are huge, like, you know, Hispanic population voted for Trump. As soon as the press said he was the president-elect, what was his first thing? Oh, mass deportation. So you don't know how many of your family members are about to be gone because you thought you were the exemption from the rule. You weren't. So it's like, even if you don't agree or something doesn't directly affect you, that's why it's so important to be well informed. And not just, oh, well, he gave us $1,200 in a pandemic, so, you know, he got my vote. $1,200? Your livelihood costs $1,200? I always say, you know, I plan on being somebody. I'm already somebody, but I plan on blowing up. And all it could take is $1,200 for y'all to completely lose your sense of self. Wait till I get $1,200 because clearly that's how much your livelihood costs, $1,200. That wasn't even tax free. So you elected this man into office that's going to do damage for the next however many years. Excuse me, we're still feeling it from the Reagan administration, and that man been on the ground. That man is tossing and turning on the ground, and we're still seeing the effects of his policies and his impact. So just imagine what can possibly happen in the 4 years that Trump is in office. The damage he's going to do. Because it's not just he's just the president. The Republicans have the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court.
What what we hope with the House, because they don't officially have it yet. We hope that somehow something breaks where we get the
America.
House.
I hope so.
Because with the House, I'm bullish on the House because it's going to be really, even if they get it, it's really narrow. It's really, it's not like it's a overwhelming majority. Then on top of that, in the Senate, they don't have like a super majority in the Senate. They don't have a veto-proof majority. We can filibuster on certain stuff. So it's like almost like what we had to deal with that. We want to codify. We want to codify Roe v. Wade into law. And it's like, hey, we don't have 60 votes. They don't have 60 votes. Like they're not gonna have that,
Okay.
because yeah, Jackie Rosen, that one, you have like Angela Alsobrook, you got Lisa Blunt Rochester,
Man,
you have all
shout out to
these
my
different
girl from
senators.
Maryland.
Yeah, you know what
Shout
I'm
out to
saying?
her.
So
I've met her a couple times. Super nice lady.
amazing.
Super nice lady.
And we're really dependent on all of them because the way that politics works, because I think that like before it became every election was really dire and it's like legitimately like everything could radically change, even though that was always the way, but it seemed like the stakes were even higher. Politics was interesting to me from, I would say, I want to say '04. Like I was a kid back then, but I was interested in the conversations about, oh, should we evade Iraq? Should we not? Like that was interesting to me. Like then '08, like watching the Daily Show and listening to Tom Joyner and them talk about what was going on politically, and then like seeing Barack Obama become president, and then like Michael Baisden, one of the people that really inspired me, and he was on the front lines 2012. Like he was real big, like, hey, people need to vote. XYZ, register folks to vote. So I can't say like, oh, like for me, it was just 2012. It really was like '04, '08 for me, even as a kid on to now. And politics is so interesting because I believe public policy works. And that's what I said on the pre-election show. Public policy works, but people just don't believe it works because government is a slow process that's split on partisan lines. So number one, we're not going to see the gains of the Biden administration until probably a few years from now. We're seeing the economy changes now, but a few years from now, the infrastructure, the Chips and Science Act, all these different things that transpire, we're not going to see that probably till a few years from now if that's not overturned. But there are mechanisms and levers within the government and within politics to protect from folks like Trump, even though like they're plowing through it, the filibuster might actually work for us because the filibuster was there to filibuster civil rights. It just might work for us for certain things. That slim majority, it might work out in our favor. Where now, listen, you got to pick off some Democrats to get some of the agenda passed, and if we don't like it, we not doing it. And the folks that do it,
Yeah.
we gonna put y'all on blast at this point because like I like that. I feel like those slim margins in the House and the Senate, especially the 60 vote margin, I think that's going to save us a lot of those times because I honestly, now you got to do politics, got to build coalitions.
I honestly hope so. I don't care if it's a filibuster, Ghostbusters. I don't care. I need something because I just can't. Like I said, as a woman, as a Black woman, it was never an option not rooting for Kamala Harris. Outside that, we share those three things in common because I'm also a HBCU woman. But I feel like this day and age we also lack empathy. Because I thought when people were saying that women were dying from not getting proper, medical care because of abortion bans, that you would see that okay, this is a bit extreme. Within the last year, I've seen, this is me, like there's probably tons more, at least 3 stories of women dying. And not even because, they found their partner, they wouldn't have an abortion, they miscarried. And they couldn't get their proper care, so now they're gone. And they have kids, so now their kids no longer have a mom because of something that Trump has put into place. I thought, when people start seeing that, they were like, okay, like, but once again, I feel like for those who, just going back to the clip of the girl, you think you are above that certain things don't impact you. God willing, you have more life to live. You never know what's coming for you. You never know what situation that you might be in. So it's like you have to move, at least for me, like, even if something doesn't impact me personally, I never know how it may impact me in the future. So it's like, if I can do what I can to come out on a better side of whatever is going on, I'm going to do that. But I just feel like as, we've settled, I feel like I feel like the shock is gone that, Donald Trump will be president again. But I think that people are now seeing what, like, they're finally seeing the consequences of their actions, which honestly, I'm doing a little bit of satisfaction seeing that it's happening now versus later, even though he's technically not president yet. So it's like, y'all have no idea, like, what's about to happen. And that's because you were misinformed, you were being racist, misogynistic, whatever your driving force was voting for him, you too was like, he's looking out for one specific group of people. And 9 times out of 10, everyday people like you or me are not it. And even some of his biggest supporters, y'all don't understand how this could potentially impact you. But you think because you have money, it can save you. It can't. Because even down in Caitlyn Jenner, he wants to ban, he wants to ban the whole thing. So girl hormones, you can pack it up. You can pack it up. Like, so you, like, we as people, when it comes down to elections, not even just the presidential elections, you know, for our state elections too, know who you're voting for. Know exactly who you're voting for because it has an impact. People say, "Oh, my vote don't matter. It don't matter." It does matter, and you're quickly about to see why your vote actually does matter.
But you know what's messed up
So,
though? You know what's messed up is that I don't want to be the doom and gloom Democrat, but I just feel like that's not it's not going to happen because I believe that political apathy works in such a way that a lot of folks feel as if the system just simply doesn't work for them. And politics is constructed in a way where like you have to really know what's going on because because what affects you is couched within a bill, right? So it's called the Higher Education Act, but what's in that bill? And I always go to that because that's like my favorite legislation because that's what the designation of HBCUs is brought from. You know what I'm saying? Like we wouldn't be saying we're HBCU graduates had it not been for the protections that way I was there. And there's other legislation I like too, like the Voting Rights Act, like the Civil Rights Act. Now there's others like it's not just that one, but it's like those directly affect us. But it's like for folks now, when it comes to the fact that our media isn't centralized anymore, now is a bunch of different outlets. And I'm not going to totally go against that because the reason why we are here, both of us literally why we're here is because media was decentralized because there were gatekeepers. And we can say gatekeepers are good because you have to have certain qualifications to sit at a microphone like this and command an audience. But at the same time, it allowed us to create an economy for ourselves. You have the Castanets, you got these other platforms like you're able to make money. Like I made money off social media. I make money off doing this. You know, like I'm not writing for ESPN. You know what I'm saying? Like I make money from the digital landscape I was created from social media, from the decentralization of resources when it comes to media. But at the same time, the audience ain't all there. The audience doesn't decide their vote exclusively from the debate, which is why I thought it was always foolish. People say, "Oh, Joe Biden didn't do good in that debate; he's gonna lose." Like that never mattered. Like it's just things that the audience is different places, and the audience where a lot of the audiences are. Democratic messaging isn't getting to them, and what they're hearing, especially when it comes to politics, is reinforcing the apathy that they feel in the political system. Because politics, take Donald Trump out of it, even take Barack Obama out of it, politics ain't boring. When you look at like the changes that happen,
it's really not.
It's not
it's
boring.
Really not like it's really not boring. And I feel like also too like this is something I noticed like during like campaign season, like people was coming for Kamala and how she was like doing ads and how she was. I'm just like, we always tell you have to meet people where they are. It's like everyone isn't going to be able to sit here on CNN and watch people go back and forth on the screen and listen to bills verbatim on like, oh, this is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. You have to meet people where they are. So that was something I feel like she did well. I know like one of her campaign ads was like a parody of like the balloon popping videos.
Yeah, I love that.
And people was like, That I thought that was so cute because people already love those videos. So if that's the quickest way for someone to say, oh, come on here and see that little video, like, let me see what she's about, because you really have to meet people where they are. So it's like,
But
it's
that's the thing. What I will say is this: is that for that video, right? Well, the problem that we deal with is we thought that video was cool. We thought it was cute. I thought it was hilarious because that should be how it is in real life. But like,
no facts.
they turn that into, oh, well, Kamala Harris is saying that you shouldn't date someone that doesn't vote for Democrats. And it's like, y'all first, a lot of people didn't understand the balloon pop thing. Because it's two things that took over. But it's two things that took over, like the media ecosystem. Those Jubilee videos where it's like the one Democrat versus 20 conservatives, or like the one conservative versus 20 liberals, and them balloon pop videos. Like, I don't know where they came from, but they just took over. And it's like people don't understand it. So then it goes into this Republican right-wing machine, and they turn it into something where they're shaming men to vote for Democrat, and it works because like the lie works because people don't know what to believe anymore because they can't trust anything.
And that's sad. And it's honestly sad. I don't, like, as an adult, as a 26-year-old woman, I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do my research on everything. If I don't understand something, if I were to learn something, I'll be doing myself a disservice. I research everything. If I'm starting new vitamins, if I'm trying a new coffee creamer, I look stuff up because I don't know how this will affect me. I'm trying something new for the first time. I need to see, does this work for me? With anything. I wouldn't dye my hair. I was like, well, let's make my hair fall out. Let me see what they got me here. But that's me. So if I'm doing that in my everyday life with the things that I put into my body, the things I put on my body, to the products that I use, don't you think I would do that with the person who's going to be leading the place that I live in? And even policy aside, if I knew nothing about Kamala Harris and her policies, just off what I've seen based on her personality and the things she's done throughout, like, her career. But, and that's like American too. This lady has worked in all three branches of government. And you chose the man who used to be on The Apprentice? Please. Like, this country is so unserious.
But here's what I'll say in the affirmative of that is that it's so interesting to me that they were like, oh, she's a prosecutor. She's a prosecutor. But you turn on like any television network at 8 p.m., it's a law show. Like, it's just so fun. Like, this country celebrates prosecutors and defendants and public defenders.
These the same people who saying, oh, team Olivia Benson and Stabler will be watching Law and Order all day long. Please be so.
We're a country that I know so many people. And listen, you're more outside than me. You're more outside than me. So I know you know a bunch of people that went to law school. You know a bunch of folks that's like, they went to law school, they got their JD, they about to start practicing law. I know so many people.
That's girls in law school.
Yeah, like, and I know so many people that, like, I was like, should I go to law school? Because there's so many folks that's going to law school, and I'm like, yo, if I watched Power when I was 12, because when Power came, I was graduating high school. But if I watched Proctor and Davis McLean when I was 12, I would be a straight. I'd be a straight lawyer. Now I'd be a prosecutor. I would have been. Ghost would have been in jail. Time would have been in jail mess with me. I'm not going.
No, for real, like, but no, it's just so funny that you say that, because like, these are the same people who be like, oh yeah, Olivia and Stabler and like, please be serious. What I was trying to say was, even if I knew nothing about her policies, just her as a person, it was just so funny too how they was trying to like turn her like try to like they were literally digging for things to talk about. Oh, she was Montel Williams' arm candy in the early 2000s. Oh, well, she was they didn't say a hoochie mama, but a hoochie mama. I said, are we talking about the same Montel Williams that had a very successful talk show? He got some degree. He was like the first black man to do something, who was also a high ranking in the military. Are we talking about that Montel Williams? Are we talking about him versus, the president-elect, who's also a felon? Who, what I saw earlier, could possibly spend his whole presidency in jail. Who's been brought on charges on multiple sexual assault allegations. Like, we're talking about that person, but what y'all got for Kamala is that, oh, before she got married, she was a baddie and she was outside. Please, like, come on now, like I said, policy aside, the candidates are just so vastly different, and it's just like, even for me personally, like, outside of her being a woman, outside of her being black, she just had like this personal feel. I felt like this is someone who truly cared about me and and she did. And even Tim Walz, like, that man's a whole teacher. The teachers would have been up if they would have gotten it. Like, cause he knows what it's like. So it's like, I'd rather have someone represent me who's been where I've been. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and Donald Trump don't have nothing in common. Not a thing. We have nothing in common. But Kamala, on the other hand, like, she was like, she was personable. Like, just to be as people's like, oh, well, she's just trying to do this. That's the whole point. She's trying to show you that she's just not another politician, that she understands, what, like, what she's trying, like, what she's trying to fight for you. And like, even outside of, like I said, her policies and her being personable, her going to HBCU, I was already planning on voting for her. When I seen this video of her and she was like, I love something sweet, that's what did it for me. Cause so do I. Because she just reminds me of like my aunt, like, or something. Like, the thing is, she had a plan. And unfortunately, things happen for a reason, but it's just, and I think what I would be interested in seeing in these next 4 years is how so many people are going to regret, like, their decision. And I saw something on Twitter, and I don't know how true it is, so don't take it with a grain of salt. Somebody was like, one of like the most Googled things, like, one of the most like highly Googled things right now is like tariffs. Like, what are tariffs, and can I change my vote? I don't know how true that is, but I'm pretty sure people are gonna start having those questions the closer we get to inauguration. Cause like, y'all took one little thing and y'all ran with it. Y'all, what the girl said, you made your whole personality, and you will soon find out the consequences of your actions. And I'm just gonna sit there and watch, cause I'm gonna say, man, I had nothing to do with it.
When I like I can understand Googling what tariffs are. I can get that, but can I change my vote? Is that like a 5-year-old tweeting that, like, or Googling that? Because like, you can.
I bet you did like 50.
That we have an education problem, and but I'm elitist for saying that. Oh, I'm this elitist Fort Valley graduate.
We do have an education problem. One of the states where it was completely red, I think it was Oklahoma. They're 49th in education in the United States.
But
it's not funny, but it's funny.
I mean, but I think that it, like, the assault on education, and we can go on and on about it. It's this deliberate for outcomes like this, because if you have a group of people that aren't informed, that aren't educated on the system, it's easy to pass things through, because the game plan was always to obstruct the Biden Harris agenda, because you can just say, well, hey, look what they didn't do, like, versus passing it because that's just the nature of, hey, this is the party that won. And I mean, yeah, you got to play to win the presidency and the seats in Congress, in both chambers of Congress. But you can say, well, hey, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, like this didn't pass. And now you can campaign against that. And Republicans are so good at playing offense and we're playing defense. And I want to see if we can flip and do that. I also want to see this too. I want to say this before we go. There were a lot of things that and narratives that were festering when President Biden was in office and he was running. For example, oh, he's too old. Like Donald Trump, 78. And you have this narrative of like, and literally even people on our side, very intelligent people that were like, oh, Kamala Harris, we never saw her. Like they didn't have her doing anything. I want the same energy to be put towards JD Vance, because to be honest, I was like, where's JD doing the campaign? I thought Elon Musk was his vice president. Like honestly, I only saw JD Vance on like on the Sunday shows. JD Vance will pop up. He'll do a little interview with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash on CNN. He'll go to CBS. He'll go to ABC. I honestly, Elon Musk was that man's vice president, and might be the vice president for real at this point. So they better keep that same energy with JD Vance. If we're really gonna talk about it, well, where was she? They're not putting. Keep that same energy because I forgot Pence existed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I forgot Mike Pence existed.
And that's another thing too. That's one thing too. This man's former vice president said, "Do not ever work with this man." This man was in the house, like he was by his side. Y'all don't risk him. And I think another thing when it comes to Kamala, one of the big things that I heard, oh, she's a woman, and you know how women get emotional on their cycle. I just want to say that lady is 60 years old. What cycle?
My dad said the same thing. My dad, I talked about that.
The only cycle my girl got is the wash cycle when she washes her blouses. She's 60 years old. What cycle? But these are the same people. These are the same men who are making choices about my body. It's so sad to just that laugh.
Yeah, it's been hard for me to laugh. It's been hard to be laugh about some of this stuff. Tell you.
At 60. But these are the same people who making laws about women's bodies.
I want better. I really want better, but I know that we're never. I think the last Democratic, like the time where Democrats controlled the presidency and Congress at like a margin in which we could just enact our policies and change that we want to see was, I think, Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ. And you see the Great Society agenda, it's the welfare state. And it's Tim Scott that was up there. Oh, whoa, the Great Society is one of the worst things for so-and-so. When it's like the Great Society agenda really helped a lot of people. And all the things like the social welfare programs, all the things, then the Voting Rights Act, Higher Education Act, 1964 and 65, like all the things that were created under his administration. I think he had a super Democratic majority in the Senate, and he had a significant majority in the House. And he was able to pass things through. I don't think we get there in this lifetime. If we see it, we're gonna be 60 or 70. Well, I just don't think we're going to see it because the Supreme Court. I just personally believe, and this ain't on Sirius XM. I believe that Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito are retiring. They saying peace out, and then Trump, like probably January, February, he's going to be appointing 2 very young Supreme Court justices, and that's just gonna be that. And he has the Senate. They have to go through the confirmations, but a lot of politics is really just a show, because it was so funny. I was in college when Brett Kavanaugh had all the stuff against him, and it was very serious things. And like he was crying. He's like, "Oh, I only did this and that." And like Kamala Harris grew. That was people were like, "She's so presidential. She's running for president." Like Kamala Harris became a star doing a lot of those hearings. Cory Booker was going in, and then you had what was I forgot who that was. But like they like Lindsey Graham was like, "Y'all need to stop accosting this man." Like just all this difference. It was just such a show. I remember I was watching it while I was in the library. My library was my spot. Library was always my spot. And I go to the third floor of the Hunt Memorial Library and I go into the room. They got the flat screen. I connect my computer up and I'm like just watching the CNN. And one of the librarians came in and was like, yeah, I'm watching that downstairs. Because it was just such a political show. And in my mind, I'm like, we watching this. This ain't going to stop Kavanaugh from getting voted in because they control the Senate. This ain't gonna stop nothing. This ain't gonna stop a cold. Like he gonna get in.
Literally.
Amy Coney Barrett gonna get in. Nick Gorsuch is gonna get in, and it's gonna be the exact same thing. So it's like it's very helpless feeling because you can be informed, you can go out and vote, you can be civically engaged, but you can't stop what's going to happen. And it's this whole entire thing of the text messages going around about the slavery stuff. There are a lot of rights that if there are legal challenges similar to what happened with affirmative action that could legitimately be rolled back. Now, I personally don't think that Civil Rights Act will get rolled back. I think the Voting Rights Act. I think there are some acts that are gonna get the axe at this point.
If that's the case, since we want to roll back, lean back, work the back down, let's roll back Loving B, Virginia, and let's see how people get up into the about that.
And they probably are, and it's gonna happen right after Clarence Thomas got off that court. You know that he gonna wrap that. He's like, what?
He gonna say, wait, let me tell you something.
That's gone. Just there's like it because but that's what we can't hold a thought, let alone an idea and an agenda that can extend literally 50-60 years, extend from George Wallace to Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump, to where, hey, we're gonna put people in the high courts and in appellate courts and these different circuit courts that can block the Democratic agenda and then push things forward for us. We can't strategize that far. Like you got folks that cheat on video games. Like you can't strategize that far. They play a different game than us. They playing chess. Like we playing Fortnite. Like literally.
No, we ain't playing checkers. We playing Fortnite.
We're doing the dances. They do the new Snoop Dogg dance. You saw the new Snoop Dogg dance they doing. They got Snoop Crip. They got Snoop Crip walking in Fortnite. You saw that? You didn't see that?
I did see that. I said, okay.
They doing that dance at this point. Like it's just I don't know. I want to be more hopeful. I honestly do. And I know for me, the only thing that I can do is the same thing I was doing HBCU Pulse Radio last year, which is let folks know what's going on. But I can't lie like this isn't really bad. And I can't just sit there with the young lady saying, well, I survived. But it's so much bigger than that because there's so many things, and especially the Department of Education thing. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that because that directly affects me. My God, but yeah.
Me too. And even just like as someone who was half an educator, because I was only a substitute, it's so scary. Like I primarily subbed high school. So these are 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders. And I did a lot of 11th and 12th graders. So like 12th graders who are months away from graduating, becoming legal adults and going out into the real world, couldn't spell basic words. I had a class, when they were supposed to be doing work, they were in there playing hangman. I always say, I'm not your teacher. When you get to college, you're going to have to see that no one's listening to baby you. So they're in there playing hangman. Mind you, these are 12th graders. Cannot spell forest or jewelry. You can't tell me my vote count just as much as theirs do. You can't. These are 12th graders. 12 seniors in high school who can't spell forest or jewelry, who can't spell basic words without autocorrect, without using it. Who can't? They can only tell time on a digital clock. So education, whatever you push do, with the Department of Education. Yes, it affects us and our student loans and all that other stuff. Yes, but the children are going to greatly suffer. They're already suffering.
Yeah, but like they've been suffering since No Child Left Behind, and I think that's the because we see what the federal mandate on education can do. Imagine if it's sent to the states, like Georgia. I live in Georgia, and like see because I know you're currently in DC, but like Virginia, I know got Glenn Youngkin up there, but Virginia was blue. Okay, Virginia was blue
Oh yeah, I live
and
in
a sea of
Virginia.
red.
So, I live in Virginia. So Virginia did their big one. I was raised in Maryland. Maryland did their big one. So I'm just like,
Yeah,
me,
I mean, but
me and my crew,
we
me
did
and
do our
my
big one in
crew,
Georgia. We
me and my
didn't do
crew,
it.
we're locked in.
Where I'm from, Bibb County, Macon, Georgia, did their big one. Even though Trump wanted to come down and have a rally right before voting, we still went blue. And then of course Atlanta, Cobb County, Savannah, you know, they did their thing because Chatham County was definitely blue. But I just I don't know. It's very like it honestly is scary, and the only thing that we can do is continue to fight and hope that the House somehow, some way flips, and just hope that politics does its thing because people don't understand government. They don't understand policy, but they definitely don't understand politics because politics is a skill because you politic in real life. Like we politic on HBCU campuses all the time. The way you navigate the halls of power on your campuses, from the Greeks to SGA to popularity to campus organizations, there's a finesse when it comes to that. Like the passage of the Civil Rights Act was politicking like that, like the passage of the Affordable Care Act, like some of this stuff, like you got to say, hey, like what can I do to get you on this side? Like the communication of the finesse of how can I get these folks, like, okay, I got this many Democrats, how many people can I pick off to form this coalition in which we can pass this through? Because there's bipartisan legislation. I think that John Ossoff in Georgia is really good at politics. He's building a great legislative resume. Like, but the thing about it is that people don't understand that element of it. They don't understand that element of it, and that's the part that was weird to me too. Because you have someone that's a senator, that was a senator, that was a senator for a number of years, and that had the other experience of being a DA and being an attorney general, but that has the experience of being in the Senate, that has passed bills and has seen successful passage of bills, that's written bills that a lot of her peers in the Senate are still there. Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, like they're still there. So it's like you have this president that has that knowledge, and then everybody was like, she should run for president because she grilling Jeff Sessions, she getting after Brett Kavanaugh, William Barr, getting after him, and she runs, and it's not received. Like she literally has navigated the halls of politics.
Exactly.
It's just crazy to me. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like, it's not funny, but it's kind of like when people go to like braces by Bree instead of going to the orthodontist. That's exactly what he's giving. This whole election is, instead of going to a licensed dentist, you know, with the MD behind the name, you was with the veneer techs, and now you get a Malcolm with chiclets.
You said braces.
That is how.
You said braces.
You got you got this highly qualified woman, this highly qualified candidate who knows what she's doing. Not only does she know what she's doing, she wants to put policies in place to help you. And then you got this man who's on reality TV and was telling people to grab people by their private parts. Like, braces by Brie, licensed orthodontist. Braces by Brie, licensed orthodontist. Now you want to. But you know, like I said, all I can, what they say, it's about me now. All I can do is just live my life.
I mean, it is.
I can't at this point. There's nothing more I can do. I'm on Juicy. Let me put his hands up. There's nothing more I can do. I
I
did
guess
my big one. I went to the polls and I couldn't like get little vote. There's nothing more I can do.
the only thing that I think that we can do is just stay aware, stay active, inform the people, and vote in the midterms. I know that a lot of people are like, "There's not going to be a midterms," and you know what? You might be right, but just if it is, like, just that's what we were saying. We got to stay civically engaged. We have to continue to vote our interest, and I think that the number one goal is to get the House and the Senate in 2026 because we're locked in 4 years. So we got to get the House and the Senate back, and we have to hope we get the House because there's going to be a significant portion of the agenda that is going to be, at the very least, changed. It's going to be redirected if he doesn't have all three corridors of power. You got the presidency, but the Senate, they don't have 60 votes, so that does work in our favor. And then the House, if it's democratically controlled, it's a lot that we can control. But at the same time, if we don't get that, it's not a demonstrative majority. It's only going to be a few seats separating Republicans and Democrats at that point. So yes, there's going to be things that are passed. There are going to be things that are passed where they don't necessarily need Democrats, and Democrats going to vote nay, or they're going to abstain, or different things like that. But that has to be our laser focus. And the messaging of this is what is going wrong, that has to be our focus. And I think our focus has to be for folks that are college educated and Black. We have to let them know what is happening. We have to let them know how the SAVE plan being erased affects them. We have to know the FAFSA might look different, or these loans are going away. Like we have to inform them of what to do next, because if they're not being informed, they don't know what they don't know, and it's going to ultimately hurt them on the back end. So we're in for a fight, and for me, I felt hopeless on Tuesday, and Wednesday, I honestly did. I felt hopeless. I'm logged out of Twitter to this moment. I honestly don't know if I'm going to go back. I still, in a way, feel hopeless because I just felt as if things would be different this time around, but I can't give up. That's just something. I'm not trying to be sanctimonious. I'm not trying to be, I'm so big and bad. I can't. I can't look back at my story and say I gave up. I can't say, well, this happened and I was talking about relationships 24/7. I'm talking about so-and-so sports 24/7.
Yeah.
I can't look back at my life and say that. So I think that has to be the story we have to fight, but I want to give you sort of the final word. Like what is your message to folks that are listening to this of what we do next?
All I can say you can do is just live your life. That's really all we can do, because at this point it's truly above us, and we don't know how things will actually impact us over the next 4 years. All we can do is just, like I said, live our life and adjust the best way we know how. But it's weird for a ride, I will say that. But like I said, all you can do is just live your life, and yeah, that's really all I got, because it's above me now.
I totally understand it. Like I said, we gonna live, and we're gonna survive, like our friend at the University of South Carolina. But yeah, but outside of that, Kiya, I appreciate you coming on and just really letting off just the steam of what was a very trying election night and the days thereafter. But where can we find you on social media, and how can we read your work?
So you can find me on social media at Kiya on Fire, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all that. And you can read my stuff on ClutchPoints and at thehbcupulse.com.
I love it. You're listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.